In all of the years of medieval adventure games, there are some that you can never forget, and there are others that you have to see to remember. Crusaders is one of those games you forget, but once you play it, it makes you want to take that blue pill and lose all of your memory. Now, I personally feel like that American-produced video games are pretty garbage, and they always stick to either a high production budget or a big name, and Crusaders is definitely not a big budget game. During the last days of 3DO, it really seemed like the industry treated them like teenage servers who screwed up on orders and forcing the cook to become angry. Believe it or not, 3DO was in the development of making another console called the Panasonic M2. This system had an ASIC chip and an expanded Mark Accelerator 2 board that allowed a chip that could allegedly play DVDs. This was the first console in history I've ever heard that had this capability, and this system was introduced in 1996. Damn. The PlayStation 1 had just come out like a year prior. DVD players had just hit the American market that November of 1996, so this console was way beyond the term ahead of its time. But it was never fully developed due to its severe processing limitations, along with its inability to produce good titles that match the quality of the Nintendo 64 games like Super Mario and PlayStation 1 games like Tomb Raider. They pushed for this as long as possible until 1998, when the technology became older, and they even had controllers that mimicked the Nintendo 64s. Now, if the original 3DO marketed that first system on retail for $69.99, then imagine what the M2 would have costed. After realizing how expensive and overwhelming the console market is, 3DO focused more so on the third-person action games. It wasn't many they produced except for Battle Tanks Global Assault, which is like this cheap version of Twisted Metal, and I have to admit one of my favorite games, Army Men Sarge's Heroes. These games seem to kind of be the perfect concept for the Panasonic M2, but they never got the proper budget to fully make them into what they were worth. So as you see, this company was very bold and very willing to try futuristic developments with a very low budget. But by them attempting to use big names or known faces, the hype only could go so far. To my knowledge, there was always some known name used to voice characters in these 3DO games. In Sarge's Heroes, the guy that voiced Sarge was Jim Cummings, or the voices Winnie the Pooh and other Disney characters. And of course, the whitest name ever in William Tripp Hawkins, who was the spokesman for 3DO. In late 1999, 3DO was given the task of releasing Crusaders of Might and Magic for Christmas, but the PlayStation team was given more time to develop it than the Windows PC team. Crusaders was a continuation of the Might and Magic series, which dates back to 1986 on PC and DOS. Crusaders appears more as a spin-off with characters who appeared in earlier Might and Magic games and now are main characters. The setup is far different though, as your protagonist is in this third-person action slasher instead of a turn-based combat. Apparently you're this warrior who was raised in the forest and wants to seek revenge against this evil clan of dark magicians that destroyed his village and killed his family as a child. It's your typical medieval plot with a twist of magic, deceit, and vanity. The only difference is that the kid who wants to seek revenge has now become this asshole named Drake, who always appears overconfident and calm regardless of the perils and challenges that are greater than him. This eventually gets him caught up, and he ends up imprisoned by a low class of undead soldiers called the Shamblers. But you begin at this point, and then you escape, and then you become aided by this spirit named Celestia, who helps you throughout the game. I personally think that this Drake guy, he feels a little confident because these Shamblers allowed him to live his teenage and childhood years out, and now as a young adult he feels like he's indestructible. Yeah, right. And with the frame rate being as slow as it is and a few seconds off, he surely doesn't make you feel confident that he's going to be the guy who's going to restore order. I mean, first of all, the motherfucker's name is Drake. Like, you either have to be from Canada or on Nickelodeon for me to take you seriously. And why the fuck is his hair so goddamn oily and slick? Like, did they even have hair grease back in the 13th century? Or did he go to his local tar pit and just slap some of that shit on his head? Not even a few seconds into this game, and this motherfucker is already looking like Elvis Presley. What the fuck? You're mainly going to be forced to get used to the control of this game on the first stage. The biggest issue is moving sideways and dodging. It doesn't feel useful, and sometimes doing the backflip seems more evasive and decreases damage from the enemy attacks. Movement doesn't feel stiff, but it also doesn't feel loose. One thing that makes you feel like you have somewhat of an advantage is being able to switch weapons and magic during combat. You begin with the fireball spell, which I can fucking hate. Sometimes it's something about the delay of the manifestation of the fire that allows you to get attacked, and you have to be at a clear distance in order for it to be effective. What pisses me off though is when you're trying to cast it, sometimes you may take damage. It suddenly prevents it from casting, and what's worse is when you're trying to do it, sometimes the fucking shit'll hit you. You could be at a clear distance away from your enemies and somehow the impact still affects you. There's no logical explanation for this, nor do you even see the damage when it's even near you. This is seriously one of the worst programming flaws in video game history. So after escaping the Shamblers, you make your way into the Citadel. This is the most annoying part of the game. Here you spend all this time meeting guards and waiting for them to give you orders. Man. And what I hate is whenever you do find out who one person is, they send you to meet some fucker's brother or cousin or whatever, and I can't really tell the difference in who these bastards are. So if I re-enter the same room, I sometimes get confused as to who I'm running the errand for. As a reward, you get mana potions, and then you get these super potions that restores both health and magic. But for all of this confusion, this part will drive you completely insane. Your whole point of this is to be lured to this forest area to find Corinthia. You can explore and find more magic items and gold coins and health potions and stuff if you can endure this whole horse and carriage show. The forest becomes alive with bullshit as soon as you enter. You'll run into these clan of assholes called Dashers, and they're very hard to kill, and one of them can take you out. It's hard trying to attack them with them running around and everything, and they always attack from a distance with these daggers and do this weird laugh. When you venture further into the forest, you'll find these ogres who also are annoying. But earlier, in the Citadel, you'll find this freeze spell, which is the best thing ever. You'll need it to venture further into the forest where you'll run into more Dashers, and it'll make them like 10 times easier to deal with. Your best bet is to use all of your mana specials honestly, because you'll need this to achieve a higher rank. Without doing this, the game is way more nuttier and enemies will take forever to kill. Seriously, after defeating 1 ogre and 2 Dashers, it took me 10 minutes to do this. 10 minutes and then like 500 sword swipes just to reach level 5 with this sword. When you cross this bridge, you'll see these 2 midgets jumping this dwarf, and then you'll get into a slight disagreement and have to kill both of them in order to breach this castle. Inside, you're being attacked, and you'll have to shake these guys off your ankles while trying to figure out where to go. You'll find a group of rebels who will assist you in the assault, but you'll have to discern who's who when you use your freeze spell to attack. For the most part, this is much easier to deal with than those Dashers in the forest. They like to cast nasty spells, and they're really fast. If I had to pick my poison, I'd rather deal with these midgets than those Dashers any day. When you find this Prince Dane guy, you find out there's a munitions and supply setup, and you have to find their territory and destroy it. So then you destroy more of them and you destroy this inventory, and then when you revisit him, now he's telling you have to recover a scepter that the Dashers have. Great. The good thing about this is you've been through a lot of combat by this point, so you've already probably leveled up all of your health and magic. No lie, I had to use the code to boost the magic or I would have had a chance to see the rest of this game. After getting the message that the scepter is being held by the ogres, you're sent back through the forest and into these caves, slaughtering an onslaught of them until you reach this prison looking area. You even get a mixture of ogres and Dashers teaming up against you, but by this point your health bars should be pretty increased, and you should also have a good variety of weapons to choose from. As you venture deeper into the forest, you'll run into this door where there's this windy path you take, and then suddenly this bastard that looks like Uncle Fester's crackhead uncle runs out. He has a little bit more health than the other ogres, and he could cast that deadly swarm spell, which really isn't that effective at this point in the game as it was earlier, so overall he's no big deal. Just kill him, get the scepter, and get back to Prince Dane. When you return, you find that Tor, who may have had something to do with King Aiden's death, is a traitor, and Prince Dane has gone to search for King Aiden, who was one of their original kings. You also hear about some group of demons called the Stonehearts, and they're looking to destroy Corinthia, so now you have to find this King Aiden guy Prince Dane along with discovering why the Stonehearts want their stake in the scepter. Next, you're going to go through the caves you had gone through before, but through this extended path where now you're back to freezing those stone idiots and those demonic soldiers from the beginning of the game. This cave gives you a chance to level up if you haven't done so. The only thing I would say that may surprise all of y'all is that I don't like the fact that enemies don't reappear as often as they did in Rygar and Decapitate. Sometimes you need that to happen to gain more items and extra experience. They don't come that often, but there are enough to be seen on screen at once, so it's not as much of a problem as it could be. Eventually you'll find this room where this giant rock guy is. Keep freezing him and attacking until he releases Prince Dane and Tor. You then take on the spirit of King Aiden alone, and this guy is pretty damn difficult. You can't use the freeze spell and your weapons are ineffective. He likes to spam this special attack that like if you're 2 feet away it'll drain a quarter of your health. I just realized my attacks are only effective if I use the heroism spell. You're going to be playing Ring Around the Rosie with him for a minute, but the best thing to do is to trick him up this platform and then face him backwards so that you can keep attacking. Once he's done, you'll run back into Prince Dane and find out that Tor mysteriously vanished in the lava, and then you sort of strong-arm this guy's army to help you with the conflict in Corinthia. When you get back to Corinthia, now you're being told about some stupid airship and needing to find out about this thing called the Star of Eteria. Ice shamans are your worst foes up here. I think this game knew how important the freeze attack is to you because now it's switched up and all the enemies are invulnerable to the attacks. You sort of slaughter this group of rock guys and yetis as much as possible until you run into your first yeti lord who's just a pain in the ass. You end up stuck in this arena because if you don't come down here and fight him, he'll just keep spamming lightning attacks against you. Even if you get lucky and he ends up standing by the elevator just open for free range attacks like a dumbass, you still can't win unless you get close on him. And when you do so, then he starts spamming this attack that was similar to that attack King Aiden did. I mean, look at this. How much easier can he make this, and not even a single hit matters? You have one down here that's spamming the lightning attacks, and then the one that's above, and if you go on the elevator to take the one above, then now you're open to lightning bolts from the one that's below. When you finally get rid of both of them, you disengage this pillar that activates this geothermal generator. You then corridor through a door that opens up until you run into that rock ice guy who then sets you up to be frozen. One of the worst situations to be in is when he freezes you and one of those yetis are nearby, and now you're frozen and open to free attacks, and you don't want this. Alright, now the fireball spell doesn't seem to work anymore. Okay, so that attack is called the Holy Wrath. Now let's see what kind of wrath it does, because it's sure done quite a bit of wrath to me. Okay, seems to work well. Your next issue are these crew member ghosts who can't be hurt with regular weapons. Therefore, you're left to spam them with the Holy Wrath spell. That's fine with me. On the airship, you're going to be doing a little puzzle solving on with this portal, but that's the least of your concern. This captain is annoying as hell. It's hard determining his health status, and he keeps retreating every time you start kicking his ass. There's no way to win this in this small tight room, so you're going to need to lure him outside in the open and even have a chance. This guy used almost all my potions, and I really can't tell if he's about to die. To my knowledge, I have to win this because I have to beat him to gain access somewhere in here. But geez, I mean, this dude just doesn't want to give up. Dang. Okay. Okay, is this the same person? I don't know. Man, but I'm glad this is over. After returning to the airship, you'll then return to Corinthia, but you'll have to go through this path in the forest that leads to this cave where these fast bugs run around. Overall, they really aren't that much of a threat until you find this one room where it's like this giant silverfish. You'll throw fireballs at him and pretty much see how easy it is. I hate having to chase them because they always run out of the room when you're fighting them, and then it just slows things up. Overall, this path is relieving, especially after dealing with those ice yetis. I mean, you pretty much are just an exterminator in this part. When you return back to the Citadel, you'll find out that all those demons and creatures from Necros' army have invaded, and it's up to you to go through and slaughter them all. Some of them have the deadly swarm spell, some of them have lightning attacks. Either way, they're annoying and you have to get rid of them all. And they're like those stupid water bugs because they like to run away. So you'll definitely need to use your freeze spell along with the Holy Wrath just to slow them down. You'll make your way to the bottom level of the Citadel and find that some of those guys that were making you run around and fetch sticks in the beginning of the game are being sacrificed to those demons for them to resurrect. You then have to find this one room where it's like this giant diamond you have to retrieve and stop some shit, but you'll have those guards come out of nowhere, so you'll spend most of the time holy wrathing them. Then you'll go to this one room where it looks like Lady Archon had been sacrificed and cloned, so now you're spending all your time surviving her. Fortunately, you can use your freeze spell against her and attack, and it will make it much easier to win. You'll then discover this room that leads to this elevator where the main boss Necros is forming some altar to awaken some sorcerer or some bullshit. You have to destroy this all, and you also find out that Lady Archon created something that made this guy's face look like a dried up hornet's nest, and this is why he's pissed and wants to destroy the whole universe. The whole time you're more focused on destroying these pillars and defending yourself from these evil warriors that sound like dolphins who've been smoking too many cigarettes. Necros himself isn't doing anything, and as intimidating as he looks, you're honestly in the easiest fight in the game. As long as you keep throwing your exploding gems, and if you're like me, you probably have a lot of them saved up, so if you chuck each of them at these pillars with lightning, then you'll open up this portal that'll take him and all of those demons with him. I can't believe in the midst of him being sucked into another dimension, this Drake dude is still trying to humor us with his cheesy ass dialogue. In the end, you'll see him sitting on the throne along with those dwarves and dashers, I guess as the king of Corinthia, and now we're being punished with even more of his crappy dialogue and voice acting. Finally. Overall, this game is doable. It doesn't have that bad of controls, but the combat could have been improved. You shouldn't need to spam a whole bunch of magic attacks just to win against one enemy. I did like that concept though of how one enemy could take you out, but those ogres, you just took way too many hits to kill them, and the fireballs were damn near useless. So if you find Crusaders, try it I guess, but don't expect a great adventure.